All right. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
It's so exciting that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so thrilled to be sitting opposite you. You have no idea. I've been just manifesting this moment. So
Oh,
truly, so
oh,
thank you very, very much.
it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And
Yeah.
we're here to talk about your wonderful book, All the Way to the River, which, wow. I mean, I did get myself an advance copy. When I saw that the description of the book was love, loss, and liberation, I was like, oh yeah, this is my kind of a book. Um, at the time I was navigating the loss of my dad, the death of my dad, and a long-term 23-year long relationship
Mm,
coming undone, and I was desperate for liberation. I
mm.
still am. And so I got an advance copy of your book. And then I sort of promptly called our mutual friend Suleika Jawad and Elena Brower. And I said, I must interview Liz Gilbert. She speaks my language, and your wisdom and insight is truly, I think, what the world needs right now. So here we are. And I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So thank
Oh,
you.
it's so nice to meet you. I know so many people who know you and love you. And so it's just obviously the next lily pad on the pond is
Indeed.
this,
Indeed.
like
Thank
hopping from
you.
one lily pad of good person to the next, we find each other.
Indeed, we do. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
So, in the first chapter in this book, you say, there are not a lot of women out there who will publicly admit to being a sex and love addict because it sounds pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And I think let's just start there, shall we?
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Yes, I volunteer to talk about being a sex and love addict.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, when did you first identify as a sex and love addict?
Well, the long version of that is that I've always known that there was something wrong with me in the way that I related in sex and romance. That I could sort of explain it away sometimes by being like, I'm just a free spirit, I'm really passionate, I'm blah 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 blah, fill in the blank. But I don't think there's anyone who would look at if you charted my romantic history and you just laid it all out. I don't think there's a single person in the world who would look at that and be like, that's an emotionally stable and well and
Right.
healthy human being.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like so there's a level at which, like all addicts, I always knew, but I didn't know that there was a name for it, and I didn't know that there was a program for it. And it's also not as if I haven't spent my lifetime trying to get it in order.
Right.
Like it's not like I've been like, this is cool, let me just keep doing this.
Right.
Like, I mean, I have certainly done all that I could do within my power to not keep replicating the same scenario again and again and again and again. Well, I constantly kept replicating the same scenario again and again and again. The official answer for like, when did I get sober in a program of recovery for sex and love addiction, was that I went to my first meeting in 2017, 2018. A friend 12 stepped me into it and was like, bitch, you was sex and love.
Yeah. And you were like, hell
You're like, and
no.
there's a room for that. And like, I've watched you hurt yourself this way again and again and again. And I went to meetings in a 12-step recovery program for that issue, for a couple months. And then I was like, listen, I'm a lot smarter than other people.
I got this.
So I've read the literature, I've heard the stuff. Thank you. I'm better now. I'm good. And then I went out and picked up a brand new, totally destructive relationship, and then
Mm.
came back a year later, quite sincerely, humbly, and earnestly. Like the way I describe it in the book is like, I turned myself in like a career criminal. I just walked in
Mm.
and I'm like, okay, I'm out of the game. Like, here's my gun, here's my badge. I got to get off the streets, like, and then from that point forward, I just did whatever was recommended.
So, do you consider yourself to be in recovery from love addiction now?
Yes.
Okay. And what constitutes an abstinence from love addiction? Because obviously in other 12-step programs, when we're dealing with substances, it's easy to
To tell when
understand.
you're using.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not picking up that drink or that drug, but how does it work with people?
So I'll keep it on my own experience because it's a subtle program. I mean, any of the 12-step recovery programs that aren't about substances are tricky for that
Yeah.
exact reason, that it isn't always clear. I'll tell you how I approach this program, and how I approach my own recovery. And again, this is just me. I treat this thing exactly like it's a substance abuse issue. So I put it down. Like I didn't put it down. I didn't put down intriguing, flirting, acting out, seeking romantic and sexual validation from others. I didn't put it down for like 90 days. I'd be like, I'm going to give myself a 90-day break and then go right back into what I always do. I didn't put it down for a year. I was like, I'm putting this down because I don't know how to do this without hurting myself. And I'm going to put it down until the God of my understanding tells me to pick it back up.
Oh,
And that's because I'm turning my will and my life over to a higher power.
so you surrendered.
I put it like the way it was worded to be by what I call God was, sweetheart, put this on the divine fire and don't reach in and pick it back up. Like, just don't. Just like, don't ask how long it's going to be. Don't take a vow of celibacy because I can't keep vows. Like,
Yeah, and
I'm on record.
we do this a day at a time as well. So
Exactly. So
yeah,
it's like, I just put it down and I was like, I'm out until a higher power than me directly tells me to get back in. And that was 6 years ago.
wow, congratulations.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just, it hasn't, every time I talk to God and be like, should I date? The answer is like, LOL.
Wow. Did you go through a withdrawal process?
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's talk about withdrawal
God.
from love
But
addiction.
I also want to make very clear, this is not necessarily what other people do
Sure, this is
inside
just
of my
your
program.
experience.
This is what I had to do
Yes.
because I'm a low bottom sex and love addict. I am a skid row blackout junkie sex and love addict. I'm a bad case. Like this is I can't even begin to think that I can mess with this stuff without a program.
It's very clear in reading your book that you reached a bottom with the sex and love addiction that brought you to your knees. And one of the hardest things that I have experienced is withdrawal from a person. I'm sober a long time, and drugs and alcohol were nothing on withdrawing from a person.
Yes, I've heard that many times from people who
Yeah.
said it was easier for me to give up heroin than it
Yes.
was for me to give up this person, or even at a more subtle level, it was easier for me to give up drinking and cocaine than it was for me to give up a dream that there might someday be a person who will make this all be okay.
Right, who
Like,
can fix the
who
whole
can
the
fix the whole
endless hole
thing.
inside me.
Yeah. And like, so it's not even necessarily for me the withdrawal, although I did have withdrawal from a person, it was also from a dream. It's
Hmm.
like I gave God as my like holy sacrifice and my like, I'm coming to be with you now, God. I gave God my fantasy, like that this will ever work for me. I was like, I'm just going to give this to you. I'm giving this up. This is my number one strategy for how to survive Earth is find somebody. Like that's been my strategy for as long as I could make it my strategy. And I gave that strategy up. And that's what I went in withdrawal from, was from the dream.
What was that experience like for you in that withdrawal process?
Awful, painful, excruciating, physically painful.
Yeah, right?
Spiritually painful, emotionally devastating, deeply lonely, excruciatingly uncomfortable, crawling out of your skin, miserable, grasping, desperate, all of that. And the thing I think that was the most agitating for my spirit about it was I entered into a bunch of 12-step recovery rooms that are all about relationships. So I'm in all the relationship programs in the 12-step universe because that's where my pain is. And
Sure.
that's where my longing is and that's where my hurt is. So the family relationship
Yes.
programs,
Yes.
I love addicts relationship
Yes.
programs,
Yeah, same.
like, save me.
Yes.
Anybody who's
Yes.
my mother
Yes.
relationship program,
Yes.
like all of those,
Yes.
right? And the prescription that was given to me universally across the board in all of them, apart from turn your will and your life over to the care of a power greater than yourself, which is weirdly sort of the easy part for me. The harder part for me was the solution is to learn how to provide all of that for you.
Wow.
And that was extremely agitating because it felt to me like a variant on what I had been told from the time I kind of reached consciousness in my family, which is you're on your own.
Right.
And that's precisely what I was trying to heal
Right.
by getting somebody else to do it. So there was an enormous resentment that I felt, which is like, you can go fuck yourself
Yeah.
if you tell me that the solution is that I need to take care of myself. Because if you will notice, that is what I have been doing.
That's the dilemma. I completely understand what you're saying.
And I don't want to do that.
Right. And there's a big difference between self-care and self-love. Big difference. And so the solution, we're told, is give these things to yourself, as opposed to outsourcing your well-being into the hands of fill in the blank. Love yourself. Give those things to yourself. But on a practical level, how the fuck do you do that?
What I was taught in my recovery program was that I sat with a sponsor, and much to my excruciating discomfort, we made a couple lists. And one of the lists was called top line behaviors. And one of the lists was called bottom line behaviors. And top line behaviors were things that
Different to a top and a bottom.
slightly a different kind of top
Yes.
and bottom negotiation.
Yes, exactly. Than what one was
typically
used
been
to.
than what one might
Yeah.
have done in the past.
Yes.
So it's like, if you want to top out, here's how. If you
Yeah.
want to bottom out-
Yeah.
So bottom line behaviors included things like flirting, intriguing, fantasy, catastrophizing. Something that I learned was called digital cutting.
What's that?
Looking up people on the internet to hurt yourself with.
Oh, wow.
To see who they're dating
Ooh.
now, and what does she look like, and how is that going. Tracking people on the internet who are unavailable, who are in relationships with other people who you've decided might be your answer.
Right.
Like that sort of thing. For me, also engaging socially with people who I have crushes on, who do not belong to me, who belong to others. So I'm going to go to this party. There's somebody there who I think is hot, who happens to be married.
Right.
And so my direction is, you don't sit in the kitchen with them and talk to them for 2 hours, Liz.
Was
Like,
there a period of
you-
time when you chose to not go to the party? Now, 6 years
There's a
later, you
couple
can go to the
people-
party, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I avoided very specifically, because it's like, this is not only unhealthy for me, this is unhealthy for other people as well.
Right.
So the instruction there would be like, when you go to the party, you're going to sit with the moms
Right.
in the other room, and you're going to talk about their kids.
Right.
You're not going to sit with like the super exciting hot
Oh
person.
my God, it's just so
who's not,
less
like,
fun.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
it's 100% less fun.
Yeah.
But also, honestly, Amanda, I'd hurt so many people with the things that I do. It's
Right.
not even just about like hurting me. You know, like, I've broken up people's relationships. I mean, they did it too, but it was like, these are families. These are
Right.
people who are like, their children involved. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's so against my true nature to cause harm. But when I start
When your addict is
drifting
alive.
into my addict shit, I will not only hurt me, I'll hurt others. And that I can't actually bear doing that anymore. Like, I can't take another round of hurting someone. Like, I can't. Or the peripheral people who get hurt. I can't do it. I've done it so long, and it's hurt so much. So, and the collateral damage is so huge. So these are bottom line behaviors. Clearing off my phone any picture that I have of anybody that
Wow.
stimulates what we call ecstatic recall. Like, I'm going to go back and look at this picture and remember some super hot thing. All of that, cleared it off my phone. Like, cleared off the same way that an alcoholic would get rid of every bottle in the house.
Yep.
Phone numbers that I blocked. People who I stopped following on social media. Like, this is all bottom line stuff. And then top line stuff is things like, go for a walk, have a salad, go have lunch with a friend who cares about you, do yoga. And my rage when this was presented to me,
Yeah, I can imagine.
when I was like, you want me to replace
This with that?
the hottest substance
Yeah.
on earth
With a fucking salad?
with a fucking salad with a little more protein?
Yeah.
You know, like
Oof.
prayer, meditation, service, like all of these things. And I was just like, no. And my higher power, who loves me and thinks I'm adorable, was like, you don't actually have to do this, sweetheart. You can just keep doing what you always do.
Right.
Like, I've given you and I were talking before this about like how long we've been in this game
Mhm.
of sex and love addiction. So I have been deep in the paint in this game for 35 uninterrupted years. From the age of 15 until the age of 50, there was a total, that's 35 years. There was a total of 6 months total when I was not with somebody.
Yeah, I
And in
understand. I
those
relate to
periods when
that.
I wasn't with somebody, I was working something up with somebody.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I had people on the hook. I had
The back
stash.
burners, I call them.
Yeah, I had stash like
Yeah.
every addict. I had a
Yeah.
list. I remember, I mean, it shatters my heart to remember this and to share this. But I remember going through a horrible breakup when I was 23 with the first person who I called my first qualifier, meaning somebody who qualifies me for these programs.
Right.
Somebody
Your
who I,
first hostage.
my first crack house of a person.
Right.
Right. And I remember like writing in my journal to comfort myself a list of names of people who I knew I could call who would want me.
Mm.
Just a list of names. And like, what is that but stash? Like, what is that?
But also, I've been thinking a lot about where does this wound come from? Because it is so deep. I liken it to, one of those splinters that you get that is so small, you can't even see it on the surface anymore. It's so deep in there,
Mm.
and yet it is causing so much pain to you. And how do you get this thing out? Because so many women I know have this issue.
Yeah.
And I've been able to recognize it in myself for many years. And I can recognize it in girlfriends when they describe behavior to me. I'm like, it sounds like. And I actually wrote a chapter in my last book about sex and love addiction. And it is such an unsexy affliction to have that people don't want to come up and out and talk about it. But I know how many people have it. And so I did talk about it. And it's like I still can't really understand where it comes from. This deep, deep need to outsource your existence to someone else.
I could probably give a psychological answer, and I'm sure somebody more trained than me could talk about attachment wounds.
Right.
And all of the answers would appear to be in there. I think somebody from a spiritual perspective could talk about karmic wounds. I can't know. I know that a lot of the people in the rooms that I sit in had very similar childhood experiences to me that led to a deep sense of inner pain, an essential lack of esteem. And we can also talk about this from a cultural perspective that women are, trained since birth to believe that when you find that person all
Then you are
well,
whole.
then you are whole. And we're a little bit doomed in a way.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, maybe there's oxytocin and estrogen, these powerful hormones that make us long to connect.
I mean, it's basic kind of Darwinism. We are wired to connect.
Yeah.
As we say in recovery, it's instincts that have run riot.
Yeah.
It is our instinct to connect, and that is a healthy, appropriate want and need to have. It's just that it's gone off the rails.
And interestingly, although my behavior makes me look like a binger in terms of somebody who binges on love, it is actually a kind of anorexia because what I'm doing is starving myself of the true intimacy, which is I'm so connected to, this is what true intimacy feels like to me now. I'm so deeply connected in such a tender and loving way to the little spirit in me who I was given to steward through life. And the way that I see it now is like what I call God, but we can call the universe or Tao or nature, which I do think runs at an intelligence level greater than mine, than what I can see. Implanted inside of me this little creature who is like, this is you. Like, and your journey through life is going to be to safely steward this little being through life. And do you want to accept stewardship, loving stewardship over this being, or do you want to keep trying to find somebody else who will do it? Right? Like, that's the fundamental question. And because I believe that if there's anything we can know about God, it's that God loves freedom. So God gave me the freedom to make that choice and be like, gee, you want to take stewardship over this little being who needs so much love and who needs so much reassurance and who needs so much attention and who needs so much validation, so much so that I burn through people because I exhaust them with how much I need.
Well, you talked about this in All the Way to the River. You talked about lava,
Yeah.
which I had never heard Love, attention, validation, and approval.
That's the drug that I need.
When I read that in your book, that acronym, I was like, that is, I mean, what else is there?
And the innocence that we have, and the innocence with which I see myself, and part of the reason that I'm comfortable talking about my sex and love addiction is actually out of a sort of deep sense of my own innocence, is like, well, honey, of course you need that,
Yeah.
right? And also, what a good guess to think that someone can give it to you, because it's like the first guess we have. It's
Yeah.
like it's and the beautiful, like all drugs, the reason it feels like that's such a good idea is because it works
It does. It works for a
until
while.
it doesn't, like
Yeah.
every drug, right? And so what I need, what my little inner being who was given to me to steward through this journey at Earth School needs and has always needed and deserves to have, is a loving, sober, responsible adult woman who makes her first priority.
Right.
Like that's what I need. I don't need some dude or some woman who isn't even making themselves their first priority.
Right. And
Right?
those are the people that we outsource to.
Exactly.
Give
You
the
can't even take care of your own fucking
responsibility.
self.
Yeah. We
And
give them
now
the
I'm
responsibility of taking care of us.
advocating my entire being and power into you, and you don't even know how to take care of me.
100%.
And also, you shouldn't be making me your first priority because you can't.
Right.
And the amount of attention that my little one inside of me needs is all of it. And no one should be responsible for that except me, because I'm the only one who has all the time in the world for her.
Do you think she's needing less attention as you're progressing in your path in recovery?
100%.
Please tell me that she does,
Well, she's
because
beginning to trust me, and I'll share a story about an early recovery incident that I had where I got to watch I got to chart like the somatic physicality of how this works. So weekday night, I'm doing an interview for some promotional thing that I'm doing on Zoom with somebody, and we ignite off each other. And I don't need to describe to you what
sure.
that feels like.
Yes.
We each strike a match off the other one instantly.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter that they're on another continent.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're getting drunk off each other.
Yeah.
We're getting high off each other in a 45-minute conversation that if I didn't have any recovery, I would just be like, first of all, this is destiny.
Yes.
You know, and
that
second-
one, that
And
loophole.
secondly, this feeling is the thing I'm supposed to be looking for.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
what we're told.
Which now I understand. When my body reacts to somebody that intensely, what I now understand is that is not an invitation from the universe. That is a warning.
Wow. What an amazing reframe.
Because if you think of what it feels like to be afraid when you're having a fear reflex, your hands shake, your stomach gets butterflies, adrenaline rushes through your body, you can't think straight. That's also what it feels like to fall in love with someone at first sight. Could it be the universe saying, be afraid?
Wow.
Be afraid? And I think, run toward it,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what I've always done,
Yeah.
right? Because anybody who I ignite with that fast, I guarantee you they have the same wound I have.
Yep.
I guarantee you our diseases are coming out to play,
Mhm.
and it's going to end very badly for everybody, right? So that's happening in this conversation. I'm getting high as balls off this person. I mean, cortisol through the roof. I am high on the internal pharmacy. I do not need
The
substances.
internal pharmacy. I love
I do
that.
not need substances. No substance can get me that high for me. Like
Yeah.
that is it, right? And I am up all night thinking about them, tossing and turning. My body is restless. And in the morning, I wake up and I'm like, they're going to reach out to me. I knew it. And I'm fantasizing about that. By the way, this person is 1000% married. 1000% married, not fully married human being who's got 2 kids under the age of 10, right? So I'm now in fantasy land about how we're going to make this work somehow.
Right.
You know, like there's just a slight inconvenience that they're like, there's an administrative issue.
Right.
But, you know,
But we can handle
but
that.
obviously,
Yeah,
we're the
hi.
ones who, I mean, look at the energy, look
Yeah,
at the vibe, look
yeah.
at the charisma, look at what we release in each other, right? So all of this in my past would have just been a clear path for me.
An invitation.
So I'm like, oh, you're high, right? Only because I had been in program for 6 months, weeks, day after day, talking about this stuff in the Rose of Recovery. I'm like, oh, sweetheart, you're high.
Wow.
So I was like, let's just meditate. Looked at my phone. They had left a message saying, I very gently fell in love with you yesterday, and I kind of wish we could run away together.
There you go.
Now we have 2 sex and love addicts
Yeah.
about to engage, right?
Yeah.
So the part of me who's an addict is sort of like the teenage iteration of the child who isn't getting seen, right? And the teenage iteration of that is like, this person sees me. So I said to both the wounded child and the teenager,
Does your teenager have a name?
they're all Lizzie.
Mine is called Violet.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
Actually, my teenager is Lizard.
Lizard. Okay, so
And
yeah.
Lizard is the one who figured out at age 15 how to go get that locket.
Yes. Oh, 100%. It
Right?
was the keys to freedom.
That's it.
Yeah.
So bless her heart, she's been like hustling for me for a long,
Same.
long time.
Yeah.
And doing things that she never should have had to do.
Yes. To
make
feel
sure that
safe.
child gets the care she needs. So I want to map this because I think it's really important. I said, let's just sit for 45 minutes and watch what's happening somatically, emotionally, and spiritually inside the envelope of my being. And I watched this division happen as that teenager was physically splitting from me and wanting to run toward this completely inappropriate and unavailable, very sick person to think that this was going to be the solution. And I've never been able to resist that. Like in my past, when that happens, there's no negotiating with it, right? I watched her keep splitting, and it was like I could feel her trying to get away from me. And I've tried to fight with her in the past and I can't. And what I said to her was, sweetheart, I know why you want that. I know what you think you're going to get out of that. And I totally understand why that feels so important. And I can't make you not feel this way. And I'm not going to try to make you not feel this way because I know all the causes and conditions as to why you feel this way. Totally get it. So it's just holding her in this compassion of like, oh, sweetheart, I know why that looks so good. Right. And I said, I have an invitation. Give me a chance to show you how much I love you. Like, give me a chance to give you everything that you think that person can give you. And I know you don't trust me because I've always abandoned us for other people, and you have good reason not to trust me. But it's like mommy's going to parenting school now.
Part of you was speaking to her. Do you think it's your healthy adult, your higher self?
I think it was a 51-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And I said, let's play the tape all the way forward. Look what happens every time we do this. And I finally just said to her, I promise you I can take better care of you than he can. I promise that I can take better care of you than he can.
And you really felt that.
And for the first time in my life, I really felt it. And I was like, look around. I'm like, come with me for a second. Look at this home I built for us.
Right.
Look at this. Look what I created. Look at this career that I made for us. All of this is for you. Like, you are my priority. No one but me will ever be able to look you in the eye and say nothing is more important to me than your well-being.
Right.
And this isn't going to go well for you. So give me a try. You never have. Give me a try. And I felt her shoulders collapse. And I was like, we're going to delete this person's number. And it's like taking scissors from a toddler.
Right.
I'm like, we're going to delete this person's number. And then she just started sobbing.
Wow.
You know, and I felt her come back into me. It was like this integration, like, actually, I'm your home, right? This body, this being, this person. And I was shook for the day, and I had to go through a little miniature withdrawal from the fantasy that I'd had. I'm like, we're going to go to a couple meetings. We're going to take a really hot bath. We're going to call Leah, and we're going to go thrifting. We're going to eat some healthy food. And I know that this is not a substitute for that. Like, I'm not pretending.
We're going to have a salad.
I'm not pretending that the salad and the friend and the thrifting are a substitute for getting high. But neither you nor me nor any part of us can survive another come down from another high. Like, that's the thing. I can't do the come down again. Like, I can't. It's battered me so many times. I can't survive it. So she came with me. And as I've done that, I mean, that's one instance. I could tell you multiple ones. And as I've done that over the past 6 years, what's happening is that she's starting to trust me because she's starting to see, like, oh, wait a minute. Actually, we sort of are thriving. This person does love me.
Right.
Like, this person, and every time she sees me take the risk of disappointing someone by saying no, when I'm prioritizing her well-being, she's like, wow, mom's badass. You know, every time she sees me choose her well-being over the comfort of my family, and be like, I'm actually not going to do this
Right.
because it's not beneficial for us. The trust builds. So the trust, the internal trust that that little being has for me has to be earned. I'm not going to trust someone unless that trust is earned.
It's interesting because what you're talking about conceptually is like IFS, internal family systems. And that is for so many of the people whose recovery I respect have worked in that format of internal family systems, which is, as you know, with different parts. I feel that I have like little Amanda, and then I have Violet, who's my teen, and then I have my healthy adult. It sounds like it's building a relationship that takes time to trust yourself that you are actually going to take care of her.
Yeah. And I have to show up for that.
Have you failed her at any point?
Not since I came into recovery the second time.
Right. It's interesting because in your book, you talk about how you had surrendered previously around your Eat, Pray, Love days. And as your life got full and big, that you took your will back again. So, how was this surrender different than that previous one?
I got the support I'd always needed. So, I have been in therapy trying to get myself helped with this for a really long time. And I love all the therapists, all of them that I've gone to over the years. I could have written a doctoral thesis by the time I was 30 called Why I Act This Way.
Same, but it doesn't change how I feel.
So what I needed was the sisterhood of a 12-step program filled with women who were like, yes, me too.
Yes.
And why don't we bookend, all the recovery stuff? Oh, you're going to go be in a triggering situation. Why don't you call me before you go?
Yes.
And call me when you get back.
Yes.
Let me do a day count with you.
Yes.
And most of all, what I needed was to actually surrender to a higher power rather than surrendering some things, but keeping a couple of little things behind my back.
So what was the point at which you surrendered in the way that you have today?
I think that I'd done enough research.
Right.
And different people need to do different amounts of research. And I think when you're used to being somebody who's really good at creating things and really good at manifesting things and kind of competent at life, I think it's sometimes more difficult to surrender.
Because your will has done quite well for you.
Ego simply cannot believe that you cannot solve this.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
It's like, I'm good at things.
Yes.
I am good at
Yes.
things.
If anyone can work it out, I can.
I will learn more.
Yeah.
And then I'll figure more out.
Yes.
And then I'll get a handle on it.
My sponsor says figuring it out is not a step.
Never.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that anywhere in the steps. In fact, quite the opposite. It's like we've reached the end of our power. I think I fully recognized that I'd reached the end of my power. Like even I could no longer deny that, like, I cannot handle this. I mean, I don't exaggerate when I say I don't think I could have lived through another round. Like,
oh, I understand.
It was just too brutal. But here's the beautiful thing about the God of my understanding. So I do this practice called two-way prayers, which is essentially, it's a daily spiritual practice where every morning in my journal, I say, dear God, what would you let me know today? And then I write, I don't, but God writes through me my instructions for the day. That's also how I have survived the last 6 years, is God being like, I don't want you anywhere near that.
Right.
I want your resources and your energy over here. This is what you need to do today, right? So in those two-way prayers, this fond, affectionate, humorous entity that I call God, that I don't even need to know what it is to know it by its voice, said to me very early on, don't come to me if you still think that there's anything you haven't tried yet.
Right.
Like, I gave you this whole world full of things that you can try. Please go try more. Like, if you think ayahuasca will do it, go do some ayahuasca. If you think another partner will do it, go do a partner. If you think an open relationship will do it, do another open relationship. If you think a closed relationship will do it, like, just exhaust yourself with every option. Because when you come to me, and I sort of identify as a bhakti yogi, I'm such a lover of love. God's like, when you come to me, when we get married, when you become my beloved, and when I become your beloved, and when you come to me, I don't want you coming to me because you were forced to. And I don't want you coming to me with the thought that, like, maybe if you'd had one more year out there, you could have, God's like, go find out.
That was like a clear direction that came through.
Go find out. Call that person. Go check it out. Try it. Like the same way it says in the big book of AA, if you don't think you're an alcoholic, go sit in a bar and see what happens.
Well, it also says in our literature, who cares to admit complete defeat?
Yeah.
And you talk about spiritual bankruptcy in your book. Is it harder when you are known for being a woman who is wise and spiritual and evolved to actually come through and say, you know what? I've lost the plot.
I got nothing here.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that takes
I'm on empty.
That takes
Yeah.
true humility to admit.
Mm.
I have so much respect for you
Mm.
for coming forward and saying that. You lost the path,
Yeah.
with all your wisdom and insight and all your life experience.
And all my TED Talks.
All of it. All of it. Everything that is Liz Gilbert in the world
Yeah.
stopped working.
Yeah.
And that in this book, you talk about losing sight of yourself and the path completely. And it takes such humility to be able to admit that. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome, dear. And I also kind of feel like I can talk about this publicly because I'm a little bit accustomed to being revealed publicly. And also, like, who else is going to do this? Like, the cool thing about 6 years of beautiful surrender into spiritual celibacy is like, I got no one to embarrass.
Right.
And like, my family of origin is so hands off anyway that they're kind of like, her life never had much to do with us. You know what I mean? It's like none of our business what she's up to. So there's a level at which I can just be like, hey, listen, here's what I experienced. If you also experience this, you are me and I am you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love you. And why would I not share? Why would I ever not share anything that I learned if it could help somebody?
Well, it will. I think this is such an important recovery book, and in talking about an issue that people have so much shame about. And I think it's so important. And one of the other things that this book is obviously about, which is another subject that people don't want to talk about, which is the only inevitability is that we die. And
Right,
death
that's what they say.
is the only inevitability. I was so grateful that you had written about Rhea and her death and your experience of death. So let's just talk about Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
Rhea was your friend for many years. She was your bestie, right?
Yeah.
And then she became your lover.
Mm-hmm.
And she was sober 10 years, right?
More than I think. Although hard to tell.
Okay.
Because she left the rooms and started drinking. She identified as a drug addict. She was like a low bottom speedball heroin cocaine addict. She started drinking at some point. Based on her journals, I could tell that she had decided that it was okay for her to drink.
Right.
A long time before she let anybody know she was drinking. So I'm not actually sure how long she was sober. But she was definitely not living on a park bench with a needle in her arm.
Right.
Which she did do for almost 10 years.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, she had experienced a period of sobriety and she presented herself to the world as sober.
And she was very involved in the recovery community. It was interesting because as a longtime sober person, I've often thought if I got a terminal illness, like, would I just be like, fuck it, I'm going to die anyway. I might as well just use. And I came to the conclusion that I wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not in that situation, so I can't say for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it interesting that she chose to kind of go out in a way that she felt would bring her more happiness and joy.
Yeah. Yeah, and there wasn't anyone except for some real hardcore 12-steppers who had any issue with that. Because there was this sense of like, yeah, well, why wouldn't you?
Right.
And also, I mean, I think about it now, Rhea loved heroin and Rhea loved cocaine. She used to say, if I wasn't an addict, I would do heroin every day. I love it.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes
You know?
complete sense.
I love it. Like if I wasn't a sex and love addict, I would have casual sex with strangers
Right.
constantly. Some people can do that. I can't do
Yes.
that because I have an attachment wound that is so severe that there is no such thing as casual sex
Same.
for me, right? So I end up marrying people I thought I was just
Same.
gonna have casual sex
Yes.
with. I end up like killing myself over people. So I
Yes.
can't, right? So that was what heroin was like for her. But she routinely, over the years, long before she got cancer, said, if I knew I was dying, I would go out and get the fattest fucking speedball.
Well,
of
she was a woman
cocaine
of her word, wasn't
and
she?
shoot it right up my arm.
Yeah.
And like be like, I'm out. And and so there was a kind of a glee that she experienced when she was given a terminal illness, which was like, well, there's no reason not to do that. And all of us around her were agreed there's no reason not to do that. And then we all found out through the hard experience of Earth School, turned out there were multiple reasons not to do that.
Yeah.
But that's not something any of us could have known without living it.
Yeah. Have you had any conversations with her since finishing the book?
Yeah, I don't feel her as much
Yeah, I don't feel my
anymore.
dad as much. I did in the
Yeah,
first year quite a lot.
yeah,
In the first 6 months, frequently, and now I
yeah.
don't feel him as much.
And I think the way that I understand that for me is, I mean, she was so vivid. It sounds like you got this with your dad too.
Yeah.
I said in the book she was more vivid dead than most people
Mm-hmm.
alive. And she does not feel here now to me.
Mm-hmm.
She may be present in the lives of others. I did go to a medium after she died who said some people just leave, but Ray has made the decision to stay. There's a lot of people she wants to help, and you're one of them. So she may still be deeply present in the lives of others. But she used to say to me when she was first diagnosed, and I mean, I was so completely dependent upon her, and that was long before we were together romantically. I was like, the belief I had was I cannot do life without Rhea, and a life without Rhea is not a life that I'm interested in engaging in. That
Well,
was like very seriously what I
yeah,
believed.
no, I completely understand that. And the thought of not being with that person, it
Yeah.
feels better to be dead than have to deal with that.
It's a post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
landscape without that
Yes,
person.
absolutely.
And
It's hard to
she
communicate the exact depth of what that feels like, but I know
it's
you know.
appalling
I
what it
know.
feels
I
like.
know. I know the feeling.
And so she would say to me at the beginning of her cancer diagnosis, I'm not going to leave here until we're both ready. And she left before I was ready
Yeah.
of her body. And I think she left before she was ready of her body. She did not surrender very gracefully to death. She was like, I don't want to die. Neither of us wanted her to die. But then she stuck around. And it's now been almost 8 years since she died. But as I have learned, she used to say, I'm not going to leave till I can see that you can stand on your own 2 feet in every single circumstance of your life. So, similarly to the earlier part of the conversation, when I talked about building that trust with those damaged the parts of myself that I am here for them, that I will prioritize their well being, that I will move heaven and earth to take care of them, that I will not abandon them. And that trust builds and builds is how I'm learning how to stand on my own 2 feet
Hmm.
on earth. Her presence is diminishing. And now when I don't feel her, I'm like, oh, she said I wouldn't leave till I know you can stand on your own 2 feet. She's not here. It looks like I
Interesting.
might be standing on my own 2 feet.
Interesting. Because you couldn't have stood on your own 2 feet while she was still alive.
No, and I also couldn't when she was dead for a while. Like I couldn't, I had a lot of training in what we call in the rooms toxic self-reliance, which is
Oh,
not the
yeah.
same thing as standing on your own 2 feet,
Yeah.
like in a true spiritual way, which is fully one of the lines in the book where I talk about women's history of overgiving to their partners. And I talk about the patriarchy and I talk about all this, the different, what's expected of women in relationships to pour into the other. And I pull back from a moment in the book and I say, I could rant all day about the patriarchy and about what culture has done to women, but this isn't a book about the patriarchy. This is a book about me trying to take complete accountability for my own existence.
It's the only key to freedom, to
That's
be
it.
honest. Yeah.
And so it's like, what is my role in this dysfunctional system? Not why was this done to me, but how do I perpetuate this? How do I keep this inequality going? How do I end up constantly overgiving? How have I internalized this? And how do I stop? And so that's what the book is about. Glennon was the first person I showed it to, and she said, I think this book is a masterclass in self accountability. And that's
Very much
the
so.
only way I think I can get well.
Yeah. Very much
Otherwise, I'm
so.
always a victim.
What did you learn about grieving that you didn't know during the experience of Rhea dying and then afterwards? Because that was not your first experience with grief, but I'm
It's the
curious.
biggest. But it's I thought I was gonna be good at it because I think I'm gonna be good at all this
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's not something that you can be good at. I
I
think
became a certified grief counselor
yeah,
after my dad died because I needed to master it,
yeah,
which of course you can't,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Learning how to grieve
yeah.
when our culture is so grief illiterate. And I was like, I know, I'll learn and I'll
I
study. Yeah, no,
Did you
definitely
get an
not.
A in
Of
grief?
course I did. Of course. Would you expect anything less?
So I was bad at it, meaning that it wrecked me and I couldn't
Yeah.
control it, and it was bigger than me. In which regard it feels very much like love.
Yeah.
And what really surprised me is how much rage it contained.
Yeah, right.
I thought that my grief was going to be sort of pretty and cinematic and soft lit, and it was volcanic and hateful. There was a lot of hate in it. Like, I was so fucking pissed.
You were mad at
I
God
was mad at yeah, I
yourself?
was mad at God. I was like, I have a much better list of people you should kill.
Right. Why?
Like, why
Yeah.
was I not consulted on this?
Right. Yeah.
Look around. I can give you
Right.
a very strong
Yeah.
list of people who objectively the world would be a better place
Right.
if these fuckers were
Yes.
dead. And you're taking this one.
Yes.
So there was that, which is kind of not humble.
We negotiate in grief.
Yeah,
It's the same thing as in the love department. Let me
right?
negotiate a way for making this better and
Because
easier for
I
me.
know how things should go.
Right.
Obviously.
Yes.
That's why I'm so good at managing them.
That's right.
So there was anger at God. There was anger at Rhea. Rage at Rhea. I mean, the only dreams I had about Rhea after she died, we were screaming at each other in a way that we never even screamed in life because I was so angry. Like, we had this short time to be together, and she took 6 months of that and shot it in her fucking arm and like booted it up her nose and became a rageful, wrathful junkie and stole our love story from us. That was my
Right.
story. So I was enraged at that.
What did you do with that rage? Where did you put that? How did you process it?
I went and found someone else.
Right. As one does. How
Now,
did that work?
obviously,
Yeah. How did
it
that
worked
work for
about as
you?
well as you would expect.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I was like, why don't you redeem this?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Fix it for me.
No big deal. But why don't you just redeem not just this, the greatest grief of the greatest tragedy of the greatest love of man, but all the other ones before
Yeah,
that too.
of course.
Please. I'm gonna
Yeah.
hand all these chips to you and you're gonna redeem them for love, right? That's obviously what I mean.
Yeah. Is that your last
Yeah,
foray
that's it.
into? Yeah.
That was it.
Okay. Yeah.
And that, obviously didn't work. And I was in a big victim head because I was so depleted and exhausted from that experience, not just her death, but that last bender.
Of
that she went
course.
on. And
And your last bender.
and it's my second to last.
Yeah,
bender,
right.
which God gave me for so many reasons, including, you see how hard it is not to go on a bender when you're a drug addict.
Right. Wow. Oof.
Right. Like, see, you did that too.
Right.
She thought she was dying and she went on a bender, and you feel like you're dying and you went on.
Right.
So, maybe drop the contempt.
And were you able to?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you switch from the rage to the self-accountability?
One day at a time, doing the steps. The most powerful one was step 4, which took a year, which is made a completely fearless
Moral
inventory.
inventory.
Which is the first time I came into recovery. I got through steps 1, 2, and 3 like a breeze, like a top student, and then I saw what was coming in step 4, and I was like, "I'm good. I
Yeah.
think I'm good.
That's
I don't
very
think I need to do
common.
that."
Yeah.
Right? So I bailed, and then I came back and I did it, and it turned out to be, once I lost my fear of looking at it, we inventory is all of our resentments, all of our fears, and our entire history with sex and romance and intrigue. And one of the questions that I love on the sex inventory that I think is brilliant and was like, wow, talk about unflinchingly looking at something, was, you make a list of like every single person you've ever had a crush on or been intriguing with or flirting with or fucking or marrying or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
one-
couldn't remember some of mine. I
and
was
one
like
of the-
guy on the beach
the
and
same,
things. Like I don't
same,
fucking know. Yeah,
Same,
yeah.
same. San Francisco parking lot.
Yeah,
I don't know,
exactly.
around 1989,
Yeah,
but it was like,
yeah.
but one of the questions is, what did you think you were going to get out of this?
Oh.
What did you want to get out of this? And the final question on that inventory, the way my sponsor did it with me, was, how did you feel at the end of the encounter? Meaning when it was all over, when the relationship was over. And when I compared 35 years of, here's what I thought I was going to get with what I got, 100%, I think there was maybe one on that entire list where how I felt at the end of the encounter was like fondness and sweetness toward myself and that person. And every single other one, it was shame, pain, loneliness, and distress. Right. So it's like, you keep thinking, now, why do you think that the next time you're not going to, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing
How many
over and
more times you
over
have to
and
do this?
expecting a different result.
Yeah. Yeah. So that helped. That became, this is where our curiosity, I think, can be of good use. Like when I got curious about the mapping of my psyche with the 4th step, and I had 480 items on my fear and resentment list. I mean, I was thorough. I went through my phone contacts.
Wow.
And I was like, I have a resentment against this person. I have a resentment against this person. I did
Wow.
every single one of them. I'm like, we're turning over every rock here. And I was like, wow, Liz, you telegraph as like a really loving person, but you're fucking pissed off at a
Yeah,
lot of
right.
people.
Yeah,
Like you are
yeah,
pissed off at a lot of people and you are hateful about a lot of people.
yeah,
And it's like, you're not well, sweetheart.
yeah.
Like you're not well, honey. Like, no, this is how your brain works. Your heart is a very different thing, but this is these stories that your mind is living in. No wonder you're so tired. You know?
And it takes a lot of work to change the programming. That's why we're told all the time it works if you work it,
Yeah.
and it takes such work. I don't think people really understand the level and the depth of work it takes to change programming that has been in us since, I don't know, we came in with it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process. Like I never feel like I'm recovered.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to graduate,
No.
you know?
I actually don't really want to graduate
Yeah,
because
right?
I remember when I was doing my fourth step and I was explaining it to what we call a civilian,
Yeah,
like somebody who
yeah. They're like, what is
isn't
that?
familiar with the concept.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm spending a year doing a complete and fearless moral inventory of all my fears, all my rage, and all my sexual history. And they were like, oh my God, I'm so glad I don't have to do that. But the thought I had at the time was like, I get to do this.
Oh my God, isn't it a gift?
I get to do this because otherwise I'm going to just keep being guided by this thing. Like this thing is going to keep running my programming from the underbelly. And I'm just going to keep getting the same result, which I can now see. I can now not pretend that I don't know this.
Well, it's literally like a store owner doing an inventory of like how many cans of
Yeah.
soup is in the pantry. It's like you have to look at it in black and white to be able to see the pattern. And we're
Yeah.
stubborn,
Yeah.
and we don't want to. We're in denial about how we behave and
Yeah.
how we are. So it's the best way to actually see it clearly in black and white. This book is so vulnerable. It is so vulnerable. Was there anything that you thought this is way too much to put in the book?
I didn't put in anything that rolls anyone under the bus except me and Rhea.
Right.
And that was really important to me. And I went through it with a fine tooth comb. And I mean, even in the edit since you read, there was like one tiny little line I found that I felt like was, even though the person wasn't named, I was like, there's a slight disparaging tone in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to do that to anyone, even if they're not identified by name. And I didn't go into any family history of mine because all those people are still alive. And it's
Right.
not, it, in a weird way, doesn't even have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
Like even anybody who I would ever, like that my mind would ever say victimized me or harmed me, it's like, at this point in my life, it isn't even really about them. The
No,
book
it's
is
about
about
you.
my own, my own healing journey. So there's a lot that I didn't put in because I wanted to stay in my own integrity. And with Rhea and the stuff that I revealed about her, I had her permission to do that. And also she lived her life when she was in Sanity and Sobriety, she lived her life in tremendous openness more than anybody I've ever met. She wrote her own memoir about her own addiction. She made a short film about her own addiction. She wrote music about her addiction. She asked a documentary filmmaker to follow her around while she was dying, including the drugs, like all of it. There was an openness that she had that was fearless. And so I felt that it was part, and she felt that it was part of the contract of our souls, that this was a story that needed to be told fully without flinching from it. So there's nothing I left out about me. There's nothing I left out about her. There's a lot that I left out about other people.
That makes sense. What is your hope for this book?
I just heard Ray. Oh my God, she just showed up.
Oh,
It's so funny.
hi,
She's like,
Rhea.
she's like, dude, fucking bestseller. Like she's so fucking, that was just in her voice so hard. Oh my gosh, I actually
Welcome,
follow her
Rhea.
for such a long time. She's like, dude, let's fucking make a bestseller.
Yeah.
I just heard it in her voice and she's laughing. So I just let her say that. I always write the book I wish someone had given me 10 years earlier. Eat, Pray, Love was the book I wished that somebody had given me when I was 30. And my book Committed was the book I wished somebody had given me right before I was getting married for the second time. And Big Magic is the book I wished somebody had given me when I was 18 and wanted to be a writer. And this is the book I wish somebody had given me at birth.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wish I'd have got this one.
As soon as I could read, that just said, like, this is what it's going to be, and this is what some of this stuff means that you're experiencing. And this is why, and there's a way, and there's a path, and you're going to find it. And, I'm Bill W., the founder of AA, used to say, talk about your addiction and recovery wherever you can,
Yeah.
because your wellness on any given moment, as somebody who is a sick and suffering addict, is hope that somebody who's in the cauldron can see where it's like you might not always have to suffer as much as you're suffering, right? So he was a big advocate of recover in public. The anonymity of the program is about protecting the anonymity of other people in the program, but he felt very strongly, tell your story.
Well, that's interesting. Why do you feel that the anonymity is not about the individual and about protecting the privacy of the people in the rooms?
Because certainly when AA was founded, you could lose your whole entire life if somebody found out you were an alcoholic. I mean, the amount of stigma that exists in culture now, everybody's an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a badge of honor.
But not everyone wants to admit to being a sex
Well,
and
I
love
feel
addict.
as though that aspect of addiction has the same amount of stigma that alcoholism had in 1939.
Definitely.
Especially for women. Especially for women. And so that's what I want to do, is use my own story as a way of not being a spokesperson for a program, which none of us should be, but as saying, if it's helpful to you to see what this experience that you might identify with looks like in someone else, of course I will tell you.
Yes.
Of course I will tell you. Why on earth wouldn't I? Because I feel like my love and sex addiction turned me into a vampire who uses people in a way that I define a day of sobriety in my life. Going back to your original question, what does sobriety look like?
Yeah.
Which is something everybody has to find for themselves in this regard, because it's not black and white. But for me, it's very straightforward. There's a couple definitions of sobriety in the relationship programs that I've heard and identified and adopted for myself. One is what relapse looks like often is returning to my original role in the family system. So whatever my job was as a child, if I'm doing that job, then thinking it's my job again as an adult, which in my case is rescue and save everybody.
Right.
I've relapsed. And then another one is a definition of sobriety for me, of emotional sobriety, is any day that goes by where I'm not using another human being to alter my mind or mood. So my history is I use some people as sedatives and I use some people as stimulants.
Yeah.
And I'm a speedball love addict, so I go back and forth between sedative and stimulant. And my dream was always to find somebody who was a sedative and a stimulant.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate. Yeah.
Until I smoked her down to the dregs and there was nothing left. And she was like, get the fuck away from me. Why are you following me around begging for more drugs from me? So that's sobriety for me. And when I'm tempted to use, to think that that's going to be my solution, that the way this person makes me feel is going to be my solution, that's when I know I need a meeting. And I know I need to get rid of somebody's phone number.
Well, I want what you have. I do. I really do. And I thank you for being so open and vulnerable with sharing your experience, strength, and hope, because there are a lot of people who need to hear that there is a solution for how they feel. And your book, All the Way to the River, really does describe your journey with identifying what this ailment is that you have. And the good news is that there is a solution. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to meet you at last. Thanks. And thanks everybody for listening.